Good morning. Today we are starting CO14. I can add and subtract mixed numbers. Words that we need to know what they mean. Least common denominator. That is the least common multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So the LCD, the least common denominator of 7/10 and 3/4 is 20. The least common multiple of 10 and 4. A mixed number is a number that has a whole number part and a fraction part. So 3 and 2/5 is a mixed number, as the 3 as the whole number, the 2/5 as the fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction whose numerator is greater than or equal to its denominator. 8/7 is an improper fraction. The numerator is more than the denominator. So today we're looking at adding and subtracting those mixed numbers. So first thing you want to do, your first step is finding that LCD of the fractions if necessary. If they share a common denominator already, that step 1 is done. But if they do not have the common denominator, you need to do that step 1, find that common denominator. Then rename those fractions if necessary. If you had to multiply the denominator, multiply the numerator. Then add or subtract the fractions. Then you can add or subtract the whole numbers. Simplify if possible. So do we need to take a mixed number and make it into an improper fraction and then find the common denominator? No, we can do the fractions first, then you do the mixed numbers. And I'm going to show you what that means. So adding with a common denominator. We have 7 and 1/3 and 11 and 1/3. So the first thing I want to look at is my fractions. I have my 1/3 and my 1/3. They have a common denominator, so I can add those two straight up. So 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3. Remember, you just add the numerators, the denominator stays the same. Now I'm going to add my whole numbers. 7 plus 11 equals 18. Then I'm going to put them together, 18 and 2/3. So you do the fractions, then you do the whole numbers. Then make sure you put them both together for your answer. So here we have 3 and 1/8 plus 2 and 5/8. So we have 1/8 plus 5/8. We have a common denominator of 8. Add my numerators to get the 6. Now I have my whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then I put them together for 5 and 6/8. Subtracting with a common denominator, same thing. You look at the fractions, then you look at the whole numbers. So we have 7/9 minus 1/9 equals 6/9. Can I simplify 6/9? Well, yeah, I can divide, you're close, but not quite. What did you divide out? So it's not 1/3, it's 2/3. Because 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now I look at my whole numbers. 6 minus 4 is 2. I'm going to put my whole number and my fraction together. 2 and 2/3. So I'm going to look at my next one. 5/7 minus 1/7 gives me 5 minus 1 is 4. Denominator stays the same. I'm going to look at my whole number. 8 minus 4 is 4. And I'm going to put them together for 4 and 4/7. Now we have adding with different denominators. So now we have that extra step we have to go through. That's step number 1. I'm going to look at 5/6 and 3/4. I need to find a common denominator between the 6 and the 4. what would be a good common denominator, Josie?
2.
No, that's the factor. Remember, the common denominator are multiples. So what can 6 multiply into and what can 4 multiply into, Josie? 24. Can we get even smaller? Shh. Lily?
12.
12. So would 24 work if we did a denominator of 24? Sure it will. It just means we'll have to simplify more at the end. If you find the least common denominator, you don't have to simplify as much at the end. But the 24 would still work. Let's use the 12. Keep it simpler. So to go from the 6 to the 12, we multiplied by 2. So to go from 5, we need to multiply by 2, would give us 10. To go from 4 to 12, we multiply by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. So 10 twelfths plus 9 twelfths gives us 19 twelfths. Now we had 4 plus 3. We add our whole numbers together. So that gives us 7 and 9 twelfths. 19 twelfths, sorry. 7 and 19 twelfths. Am I done? Why not? It's an improper fraction, and we don't want to leave it as an improper fraction. So we need to change 7 and 19 twelfths. 12 can go into 19 one time. Let's use a different color. 12 can go into 19 one time, and we're left with 7 twelfths left over. Because 19 minus 12 is 7. But we still have our whole number of 7. So now we have 2 more whole numbers to add together. That's 7 plus the 1. So that gives us 7 plus 1 is 8 and 7 twelfths. So make sure that if you're improper and you pull a whole one out, you add it to the whole number that you already had. So it's just taking that extra step. So we added our fractions and we got 19 twelfths. We added our whole numbers and we got 7. Then we had to change that 19 twelfths to make it proper. And then we had to add the whole numbers together again. Let's try another one. 7 fourths plus 3 halves. So we have our fractions, 1/4 plus 1/2. What would be a common denominator between the 4 and the 2, Ryan? Go even smaller. 4. Both of those multiply into 4. 1/4, it's just times by 1. To go from 2 to 4, we times it by 2. So that gives us the 3/4. Then we want to add our whole numbers together. 7 plus 3 is 10. We're going to put them together. 10 and 3/4. Am I done? Am I done? I am done. I can't get 3/4 any smaller. So sometimes you'll end up with that improper fraction that you need to switch over. Sometimes you just end up with a simplified fraction already. Let's move our page up. Oh, it's not going to move up anymore. Renaming to subtract mixed numbers. So when subtracting mixed numbers, sometimes the fractional part of the second mixed number is greater. If this is the case, then you have to rename the first mixed number so that you can subtract the fractional parts. Let me show you how that's done. I'm going to use the space up here so you can see it better. We have 6 and 1/6 minus 3 and 2/3. So the first thing we do is our fractions. Well, 6 and 3, we need a common denominator. Peyton, what's our common denominator with 6 and 3?
3. Oh, sorry, 6.
6. So to go from 6 to 6, we just multiplied by 1. To go from 3 to 6, we multiply by 2. Can we do 1 minus 4? We're not going to work with negative numbers with our fractions. So we're not going to do, we want to rename. So sometimes the fractional part of the second mixed number is greater. If this is the case, then you have to rename that first mixed number. So to rename that number, we're going to take a whole one out. And so instead of 6, we're now going to call it 5. And then we have 6, 6. Because a whole one would be 6, 6. We're going to add that 6, 6 to the 1, 6. So now, instead of being a 6, it's a 5. And we have 7, 6. Because 6, 6 plus 1, 6 gives us 7, 6. Now can we subtract? 7 minus 4? Yeah, we can do 7 minus 4 is 3, 6. And we want to simplify that, dividing our 3 out. And that would give us a half. So now we have our whole numbers. 5 minus 3 equals 2. So our answer would be our whole number and our fraction. So it gets a little more complicated when we have to rename that first mixed number. So let's do another one to practice it. Let's do the next one. We have 7 minus 5 and 5/8. So first thing we do is our fractions. Can we do nothing minus 5/8? Is that something that we can do? No. So what do we have to do, Will? Instead of turning the 7 into a fraction, we're going to rename it. So we're going to take a whole one out. So we're going to have 6. And that whole one that we take out, we're going to give it the common denominator. So 8/8. So 6 and 8/8. We know 8/8 is equal to 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. So we take 8/8 out of our 6. And now we have 8/8 minus 5/8 gives us 3/8. We have our whole numbers. Remember, we have that new whole number. 6 minus 5 equals 1. We're going to put them both together, our whole number and our fraction. So the tricky part when we are subtracting those mixed numbers is sometimes we have to take a whole number out, take one whole out to boost up our fraction so it's bigger. So that is our working with adding and subtracting our mixed numbers. We are going to stop there for the day, and we are going to have a great day.